This is an interview with Sister Donna Marie Beck, conducted on October 6, 2017. Where were you born and when?
I was born in Gallitzin, Pennsylvania in 1932. I don't know what time of the day it was, though. All I know is that Mom had a hard delivery.
Were you at home or in the hospital?
At home.
How do you know that you had that she had a hard delivery?
Because I asked her. One time I was doing a guided imagery and music session, and I went back in time, and I kept yelling, my head, my poor little head. And I was crying, and I didn't know why.
So it was like it was a memory that you accessed. Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing?
And so I went home and asked Mom, and she said yes. She had a very hard time because my head was large.
Big. Mm-hmm. We have big heads, the Becks. Don't
in
we?
More ways than one.
What is your earliest musical memory as a musician? That's why I'm asking you.
Well, first we had music in the house all the time. So that would be hearing Dad singing. And then eventually learning to play the piano and his evaluation of how I played.
His criticism, yeah. Well, who played the piano? Did Dad play the piano?
He played a few things here and there, but his 5 sisters all took piano.
So you heard them.
Mm-hmm.
And who do you remember out of all those 5 sisters?
Well, I don't remember all of them, but I remember Aunt Kay and Aunt Marg.
Oh.
I never saw Aunt Rose or Lenore or Thea
play.
But even their family were involved in music.
Music, yeah.
And I think it was largely due to the fact that Grandpap played the cornet, and he belonged to a J.P. Mitchell band that was founded in Gallitzin. And they used to have a summer camp, and I guess they marched in parades and had concerts and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I saw a picture of John and Lucy Buck
At the
keyboard, and Grandpapa was over there singing, I guess.
Yes, and Mr. Buck played the violin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we go back in genealogy, you'll see the likeness in features of Grandpapa and Mr. Buck. And I think at one time, way back in the woods, we were connected somehow.
Well, Grandma Beck's mother was Matilda Buck.
Well, there it is.
So that must be the connection there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how she would be related to that John Buck family, but I could look that up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably the connection. So, but they were obviously musical people, huh?
Mm-hmm. And Janet, one of the daughters, played. Esther played by ear.
Mm-hmm.
Stella played by note. And the boys all sang. And Janet was really, really good on the keyboard.
Was she?
She liked ragtime.
Oh.
She liked to play that. She was really good at it, too.
Well, tell me about, unless you have more to say about Janet, but I was thinking about where did you start taking music lessons?
I started in 4th grade with Sister Teresa Clare.
Oh.
Oh, no, with Sister Mary, in the 3rd grade.
Oh.
She was my first piano teacher. And the next year with Sister Teresa Clare. And the next year with Sister Teresa Clare. But Sister Joseph Catherine was in charge of the boys' choir and the girls' choir, the children's choir, I should say. And she got me to start playing for the masses, and she would sit beside me on the organ bench and put big circles around where I made the mistakes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One time she leaned her arm on the place where the music was. And she didn't realize how heavy her arm was. She knocked the whole book down on the floor, and I just kept on playing. She said, "How did you do that?" I said, "I have no idea."
Divine inspiration.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway,
So
that
you
was
were
that.
you were really precocious.
Well, after you played it so many times, though, you got it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then when did you become the organist at St. Patrick's Church?
Well, let's see.
And how?
That was about the 5th grade, because Sister Teresa Clare told Joseph Catherine how well I played the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And so Joseph Catherine took me over to teach me, and she'd go up with me in the morning for the Mass. And that's how, when I played the Mass, she would try to get me to get the syllables, the right syllables on the number of notes that were supposed to be.
So
Yes.
accompanying the vocal.
Accompanying myself first.
Oh, you had to
At
sing.
the morning Mass, I had to sing. And,
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And most of the masses were what they called Requiem masses,
Mm-hmm.
or black masses. And we had to sing the Dies Irae, and that was a really long sequence.
How does that go?
Dies Irae, Dies Illa, Salvet Seclum in Favilla. I can't sing anymore. This day David cum Sibylla. And then instead of singing the whole thing, a repeat of it, we would chant the next one.
Oh. I think I've heard that. That Dies Irae. And that means day of wrath?
Day of wrath, a day of reckoning, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a famous composer who used that theme for a concert piece of music.
Go ahead and get it done.
Can you cut that out?
Mm-hmm. So, tell us about Father Farron.
Well, one day in October, he had quite a few masses coming up for the November, because there's the special feast for the All Souls. And there were quite a few masses, and I'd get up and play at 7, 7:30, and sometimes there would be an 8 o'clock mass. And he used to give me the envelope, but I always had to go up to the sacristy to get it. But this one day, I couldn't find him down in the stairs. He had come up the gallery steps, and I didn't know that he was coming up there. And he came over to the organ bench, and he got his hand in his pocket, and out came this big long envelope. It was real fat with dollar bills in it. Instead of giving me $50, like a $50 bill, he gave me 51s.
Oh, how cute.
So I was all excited about that, and I ran home and gave it to Mom. She was real tickled, you know, because we needed some extra.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "Now we can get your raincoat, and then we'll get the things we need for the house and for the other children." So that's what we did
Isn't
with
that
that
something?
money. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
How did you feel about that?
oh, I felt happy as a lark, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you were helping Mom.
Yeah, helping Mom and Dad, and Father Farron was aware of. He came down to the house, I understood later, and asked Mom and Dad if I could play.
Yeah.
And of course they said yes. And they were very glad to do it. You know, Dad sang in the choir at the time, and then later Leanne picked up the organ, then you, and then Carolyn, and then you. And Joan never played at the church, but she played for a lot of other things. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got fired. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, we misbehaved.
Oh, did you?
We got
You
fired.
and who?
I think it was Mary Jen Buck and maybe the Shaughnessy
who
girls.
fired
Maybe
you?
Father Bradley.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was the end of my career as an organist.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh well.
C'est la vie.
Yeah. Okay. End of take one here. I'm gonna stop.